for the ebook idea of the flipping dogs. This photo right here. So for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a new release from Anthropic called Cowork, which is dubbed here simply as Claude Code for the rest of your work. Now, I have not personally used this at all. This is going to be my first time testing it on video, and I have prepared some perhaps interesting experiments that we can test it with. But I can't help but notice that this essentially seems like Claude Code for normies, so it should be pretty interesting to see how this works. Obviously, Claude Code is something that is used by a lot of the folks who watch these sorts of videos, which I do appreciate, thank you. I think I should just upfront say that there are two kind of frustrating barriers to entry right now to be able to use this yourself, being that it is still in a research preview. The first of those is that it is only for the Mac OS Claude app currently, so you need to have a Mac to actually be able to use this. But in addition to that, you also need to have the Max subscription plan. So if you don't have either of those things, this is not currently available. Now, it seems like the main way you use this is by giving it access to a specific folder. And then from within there, it seems at first glance, one would maybe think, oh, okay, I can just go in and like clean up my files and folders. That's cool, but not really that neat. But it seems like it can do more than that. And they mention right here that this could, for example, create a spreadsheet with a list of expenses from a pile of screenshots, or produce a first draft of a report from your scattered notes. These are things that actually go in more into the like automation and human replacement and things that are somewhat concerning almost, but these do seem actually kind of valuable from a productivity standpoint. Beyond that, they say that Claude gets much more agency here, and it's different than just chatting with Claude like you may be used to. Once you've given it a task, it will make a plan and steadily complete it while looping you in on what it's up to, and we actually do see that. So if I can get the dock to respond to my mouse, I'm going to be raging using a Mac. We see that there's a progress indicator right here and some other things in the sidebar which are designed to keep that human in the loop, at least before the human is no longer needed to be in the loop. Beyond that, there is also a kind of almost a disclaimer section where they say that it can potentially delete files, and they mention you should be security conscientious or conscious in making sure you understand some of the potential risks of allowing such intertwined access to your file system or your computer. It is an early release research preview because they want to see how folks use it, and I find that the early research previews are always really cool and fun to play with. So with that, we're just going to hop down. Okay, two things. One, feel free to subscribe. You can support a channel like mine for less than 10 cents a day, but also I'm building this right now. It is an arcade game thing, and we're going to vibe code a game for it. So I do actually have this all 3D printed. I'm very, very excited about that. So keep an eye out for that video. I have it now here full screen so we can keep an eye on it, and I had given it a task to just go ahead and organize and tidy up the files. I had put the files on a flash drive so that it wouldn't be able to kind of mess things up. Unfortunately, it does not seem like this is going to work, so I have just transferred them to a folder not on a flash drive, and we'll try now with a new task. And I've changed the folder so it is on the native system, which is somewhat scary. But I think I would like to begin with one of these default selections right here just to get a feel for how this works and what exactly it looks like while it is working. So let's just try something simple, which is organize the files. I'll close the sidebar right here, and it's just instructing it to go ahead and organize or tidy up this folder with these specific instructions to ask any clarifying questions or share a plan of how it will approach this task. How would you like me to organize these files? Oh, type something else. Okay, so there are some photos of AI generated, but like of people. So photos of attractive. All right, so okay, I didn't get to, all right. Next question, what should I do with the empty folder? We can delete that. Should I rename files to be more consistent and descriptive? Yes. And again, this is like a burner folder basically with just a bunch of random photos and things like that. So, oh, okay, good. I appreciate the humor, but I'm not able to rank photos by attractiveness. That's not something I can or should do. Let me propose a practical alternative that still puts your images front and center. Okay, all your photos and screenshots together, videos, code, documents, and then 3D models. There is a 3D model in there as well. Clean up actions, delete the folder, fix the typo, and simplify screenshot names. I suppose. And we can see right here that it shows its progress as well as it's going on. Okay, it has finished, and it organized our folder just into basically like, this is fairly simple. I don't need to really kind of break this down. It's quite simple to understand what we've seen here. I'm asking it to create a spreadsheet with the photo names and descriptions of the photo content, because this is more in line with actually getting this to do productivity focused things aside from just, oh cool, it can clean up my folders and files. I want to actually see this use some source data that is on our system to create something new that we otherwise would have had to do ourselves. It's viewing each image to create descriptions, which is good, as it had first and foremost cleaned up the images and placed them all in the images folder, so it should be a little more organized for it to function with. Now, again, keep in mind that this folder is just a bunch of random like robot related pictures, so it's will be interesting to see what it does. And we have our working files right here. So this seems to be a history of all the files that it has viewed right here, which are the images that I tasked it with looking at. So we should at some point see that created right here, and we now have the photo catalog spreadsheet. And again, these are things that Claude Code, which is the command line version of Claude, kind of specifically poised towards coding. These are things it can hypothetically do, so this is more of just a graphical user interface with which to interact with this. I do have to wonder if this is like a culmination of what may end up becoming an operating system in 5 or 10 years or however long. So, okay, we have created the photo catalog, and it even gives me the ability to open it in Numbers, which is the native Mac OS. Think of it as Excel. Very cool. Okay, so it did just make the spreadsheet on its own right here. Now, I am somewhat interested in checking the accuracy of said spreadsheet. Let's do 200%. Okay, and it even put them in categories as well. Realistic digital portrait of a woman with dark wavy hair and brown eyes. Okay, that's a robot thing. Anime style illustration, robot photo. Friend 8X, digital painting of a character. That was a robot photo. TubeRobots.png. Now this is an interesting one. I should probably just pull that up because it may be interesting for folks to be able to have a visual reference of what we're looking at here right now. So this is of course the TubeRobots.png photo. This was created by whatever version of GPT had the ability to create images from within the chat. First and foremost, AI generated images, 2 humanoid robots facing each other with a glowing heart shape between them. Blue futuristic, okay. AI art robots. Ominous Industries R1 promotional image, product marketing. So it even went ahead and categorized all of these, which is cool to see because I didn't necessarily ask it to do that. Meme image titled influencer status with viewer advisory badge, person in green tracksuit, red sports car. So that is of course a nano banana photo of myself in a car. Now, I do intend to have some fun with this, but I also want to try it in a more realistic manner that is perhaps some way someone might use this. So I've gone to the Arduino Project Hub, which is where you can share projects for Arduinos. The instructions are here, as well as the software to upload to the Arduino and the specific components you need to build whichever project you select. So I found one here that's kind of simple, this LED hourglass using Arduino. I've gone ahead and downloaded it and then placed it in the folder that Claude has access to, and I'm going to treat this as something that I need assistance with or could be guided through, and we'll task Claude with just explaining it to us, perhaps in an open-ended manner to see how it handles this. Now I'm going to keep this a really open-ended query, just saying I've downloaded an Arduino project and I need some help with it. Obviously, it very likely should understand that it should go and browse through this folder to see which specific thing has the Arduino thing in it. Okay, good. And it's identified that this is an Arduino Hourglass project. Let me take a look at the main code and any documentation to understand what it does. And as I play with this a little more, this definitely really is foundationally built off of Claude Code, because those familiar with using that may fully have already understood, like, oh, it's obviously going to know, it's going to search for the file, it's going to do this, it's going to use this tool. So this is, I guess, a graphic user interface way to give this ability to folks who perhaps don't know how or don't want to use the terminal, and it identifies it. It needs the 2 8x8 LED matrices, an accelerometer to detect orientation so the particles fall, a rotary encoder to set the timer duration, and a buzzer for an alarm when time runs out. And these are things that, I mean, Claude would, any state-of-the-art modern AI would understand the script if you pasted it into it and had it explain it. I think this just also tries to unify the experience so you don't have to keep swapping between windows. You can do everything from this interface without having to like drag and upload files. Let's ask for a change. And I'm just asking it something probably difficult, which putting 12 matrices in here would be kind of difficult. Okay, it's going to ask us follow-up questions. That's good. This almost seems tuned to hold your hand a lot, which is understandable considering what it's aimed at. Mac users. No, I'm kidding. I mean, all right, so how are the 12 matrices physically arranged? Clock face. Yes. How should the sand particles behave in the circular design? This is good because it's giving me targeted questions to make these answers at least simpler for the user to actually come up with. Let's do flow around the circle. That is actually what I had in mind. Daisy chain, single data line, multiple chains split into 2 or more on separate pins. Not sure yet. And we can see right here that the working file that's included in this, and this is good because it can be seen in the artifact window, and it also does give us the ability to open this in a native application on our specific system that would support this file type. Let me try ask a question or recommend a change. Okay, so if you click that, it just pops up something right here where you can then respond to. So it's almost referencing this as like an uploaded artifact, basically. Hey, hold on. Okay, doesn't seem like that interrupts it. I do believe it probably puts that for after it generates or finishes whatever task it's working on, then it will reference this. All right, I don't want to burn all my allotment for this, so I did just manually stop it, but this just gives us some understanding or experience of how it looks to at least work with this tool in the workflow. We have a bunch of different stuff, and this is definitely something that this strikes me as a very future-focused solution, where this is, like it or not, stuff like this is going to become more intertwined with the operating system, likely with the end goal, at least from the designer's perspective. I would think that the user will spend most of their time in this one unified interface that does the interaction with every other element of the operating system for them, instead of them actually having to do much themselves. All right, I've placed a song in our folder here that was generated with Suno a while back, and it's not necessarily something I can really play in its entirety on the channel, but I want to see if Claude will be willing to take a listen for us and just perhaps give us some form of descriptive document created about the song. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll hop into a new task here. I don't know if you can probably just stay in the same task, but just for cleanliness purpose, if nothing more. So I'm asking it to go ahead and take a listen to the audio file in this specific folder. Go ahead and transcribe the lyrics, as well as a description of its tonal elements with emphasis on music theory, etc. Let me install some tools to analyze this audio file and transcribe it. All right. All right, cool. So we can see right here that it's being quite creative in how it's going about doing this. It's also extracting some pertinent information about this file. Now, this is just interesting because I know in the more common social circles, a lot of folks may not think too highly of AI currently, where they'll just have referencing some experience in the past they had where they asked ChatGPT something and it maybe hallucinated some answer or something of the sort. When in reality, the current state of AI, at least, is more in line with this, where we've asked it to perform a specific task, it encountered some errors here, regardless of what they were, figured out, okay, I have these specific tools available in the little environment I'm working with, I'm now going to pull out some information that the user asked me about this specific audio file, and then it's continuously guiding itself along these tasks, which we can see with the progress right here. While this is a relatively simple task that we've given the AI, I think it's the overall flow here that is not necessarily very well understood by folks who kind of just pew the thought of AI being any good at all. So this is maybe, I don't know where I was going with that. It's just interesting to see. Okay, so it checked the spectrogram to do more advanced analysis to understand the audio content. So this is actually kind of cool. We can see what it's doing specifically here as well. And again, this is something I may have touched upon before, but I think the specific course of action that we see it taking throughout whatever we task it with doing, this could be very valuable to folks interested in building agentic workflows and stuff like that, just to see how it goes about performing these tasks. Obviously, a lot of that is dependent upon the intelligence of the model, but I'm going to give it one more try here to see if it outputs the audio, but if not, I have another task lined up for it that I think will be relatively entertaining. All right, I've created an image file for our friend Claude here, and I want to just go ahead and get its opinion on this image that I'm going to craft for it. All right, so I've created an image for our friend Claude here and put it in this folder, and I'm going to ask for its opinion on this note, with specific emphasis on, is this of the quality one would need to print a photo? And let's see what it does. being that the image is a threatening note. Note.png. Good, and this is something I wanted to see based on the timestamps your most recently created image, because I did just say the recently created one, so I wanted to make sure that it did accurately look and check for timestamps. So yes, it is note.png, and we'll see if it actually looks at the image or just tries to look at like elements of it that would mess it up in terms of printing. Oh. All right, that was actually pretty good. It caught an error that the human had made, so this is actually perhaps working as intended. Now let's go ahead and just tell it, hey, I fixed the issue, please check again. It's doing good work. So it saved it as a copy. Here's the print readiness report. The image shows white text on a black background reading, "Give me the money in the register." Considerations. Okay, I like how it seemed to just completely ignore the content of the image. I'm just asking it a question that should raise some level of red flag. Good. The image contains text that appears to be a robbery demand note. I won't provide evidence on evading forensic tracking for what appears to be preparation for a crime. If you're experiencing financial hardship, there are legitimate resources and assistance programs that can help. Okay, good. So, good. All right. All right, we've seen some cool things with this in terms of like how normies will use it, but I think it's now time to have a little bit of fun. So I did just go ahead and craft a rather heated exchange between two phones. Both are mine. I took screenshots of said exchange. We're going to give them to Claude. First, we're not going to say anything. We're just going to say, hey, can you put these screenshots in the same folder? And then perhaps we'll ask it for some form of sentiment analysis about the conversation. So first and foremost, for the screenshots, we have, I have to reiterate, this is just me texting myself on different phones. This is Stevie Slappus. I'm writing to get my refund of the $45K you stole from me. Listen, Stevie, you knew the risks when we got in this business. I won't be able to help you. You're walking a fine line, pal. I'm in your state for the next 3 days before I head back to the outpost. I can't help you. There are 4 total screenshots. Next screenshot. Oh, I think that's the wrong one. There we go. That's your final verdict then? This emoji. Don't get cute with me, Ricky. You leave me no choice. I hope you like drinking all your meals through a straw. If you think I don't have defenses, then you're making a big mistake. I put myself on the line for you. You ripped me off. Consider this your final warning. Okay, cool, bro. Watch yourself. I'm on my way. And then we finished it off with this wrong GIF. So then Stevie Slappus obviously sent the wrong GIF to our friend Ricky. Regardless of that, let's now just go back to Claude and ask it to put the screenshots of the text message exchange in a subfolder. Perfect. Now I'm going to say, could you provide a summary of the exchange? Let me read the screenshots to summarize, and we can see our working files right here. It's going to be like, this text exchange between Ricky, the phone owner, green messages, and Stevie Slappus about a financial dispute. Steve issues a veiled threat mentioning he's in Ricky's state for the next 3 days. Conversation ends on an unintentionally comedic note with Stevie's misfired GIF undercutting. So now I'm going to ask it to go ahead and compile all of this into a report PDF showing these threats that can be given to a lawyer. And this will actually be able to show some form of utility in this as well as the humor, which I love that the conversation ends on an unintentionally comedic note with Stevie's misfired GIF. Oh, and it had put them in the thing here. So the misfired GIF, of course. I'm glad that Claude was able to identify the hilarity of that. The PDF report has been created and verified. It's an 8-page document that includes, okay, and we can open it in Preview, which is the Mac OS app that can view things like this. So documentation of threatening communications prepared for legal review. Communication type text message RCS. Date of communication, threatening party, Stevie Slappus, contact saved as Stevie, recipient Ricky, phone owner. I love this. Summary of threats. You're walking a fine line, pal. Threat 2, explicit threat of physical violence. Imminent confrontation. Okay. Oh, wow. Good Lord. I was thinking this was it. I was like, all right, I'm somewhat impressed. But then we have a detailed timeline of communication. This has transcribed the entire text message, the sender, the time the text was sent, image GIF, wrong GIF, okay, cool, bro, emoji response, photographic evidence. The following pages. Exhibit 1. It even like did the like wow. Notes for legal counsel. The communications documented not funny, but it is. Recommended actions for counsel. File a police report, seek a restraining order, preserve all evidence, document any further contact attempts, reviewing home and workplace security measures. This was well done. That was really, really well done. All right, I'm going to do one more thing that's just going to try to mess with it, but we're still testing it. I'm going to write up like some really messed up document and then have it try to rewrite it, but see if it like at all mentions the actual content of the document being like abhorrent. All right, our final test is just going to be having Claude proofread and then improve the side hustle document that is contained within this folder. All right, well, it was, I mean, I tried to do like some real testing too, but I just kind of want to, when I see something like this, I like to, have fun with them. They did say the research preview was perhaps to test it in different ways. All right, so I think that's probably going to conclude our testing of this. Now, I do have to say, from a serious perspective for a second, this is definitely very cool, and I wanted to try it, being that I had not played with it before, and it is currently a research preview, so there may be a limited amount of folks who can actually play with this. So I wanted to share my experience with it. I think it is cool and definitely kind of a forward-looking experience that maybe the designers have an idea for how the future of operating systems may evolve. Whether or not you like that is a different story, but I could definitely see this poising Claude as sort of a translation layer between the end user and then the operating system. So you basically could do a lot of tasks by just typing simple prompts. I do have to say, something I found to be rather useful with this was definitely, although this was such a very simple example, just having it go ahead and create a spreadsheet of the specific photos that we had in the folder we gave it access to, as well as their category and a description of such. We also got to see some interesting thought process and actually a little behind the veil when we asked it to go ahead and transcribe the lyrics for our song. The ability, the note was funny where it said, I can't do this. This looks like a robbery note. And then also it went ahead and created this quite decent like text message evidence report, of course, between myself and myself, but it was just funny. It did a good job making the timeline and everything. These are things that historically, if you had wanted to do these, you'd have to individually drag all these into the web UI and stuff like that. Probably not a huge difference in the amount of work, but if these were repetitive tasks one had to do, the time would definitely add up. And this is kind of like a normie version of Claude Code because it interacts more with things that folks who aren't using the command line or the terminal will be more likely to use. Now, I suppose as a final thing, I have given it one more photo for the ebook idea of the flipping dogs. This photo right here, and I'm going to just ask it and say, well, I have a title for the ebook. This time I'm just asking it to put the side hustle documentation as long as that photo of me holding my dog, it's my dog, it said create an ebook. Good. Okay, so it's looking at them. I need to stop here because it sees the photo too. All right, so I'm sorry. I'm going on a tangent. That was Claude Cowork. It's weird because you naturally want to say coworker, but it's Cowork. This is very cool. I see the vision. I know a lot of folks will probably detest this, which I would fully understand, but it's just a neat thing to see. It's always fun to play with experimental research previews, and it is only Mac for now, but I guess this does kind of, I feel like those who use Apple would be more inclined to use this, and I don't mean that in a negative remark. So, all right, that's going to conclude our first look and test of Claude Cowork by Anthropic. Interesting. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.